Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to wait for more people to join us here, but I'm very excited to be here on the morning of the Saturday before Christmas. I'm Lisa Marie Garcia. I'm an active partner in the CEO Book Publishing Group, and today is a huge day in the milestone for any title, and that is the day that the title is released to the world. And so today we've got a program for you to release author David Spiegel's Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle, book one of the Bonefairy Trilogy, a fiction story like you will not believe. You can trust me because I've read this book and we have helped work with him to publish the book. So we've got a great live stream going today. If you're watching us from YouTube Live, Facebook Live, or LinkedIn, or even after, you're going to enjoy meeting our author, learning about this book, and I'm positive you're going to want to buy it for yourself and buy another copy to give to someone else in your network because it really is an amazing read. So I would like to just give you a general overview of the book, and then I'd like to introduce our author and bring him on stage. So, Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle, first of all, I'm pretty sure anyone listening to this stream wouldn't say that they knew, had ever heard of the word Bone Fairy, and wondered what Bonefairy Castle was about. Well, and that is what this Bonefairy trilogy is all about. So let me just give you a little bit of teaser here about this book, and then we'll bring our author on stage and start digging into the release. So we say, some stories aren't written in books, they're whispered across generations. When 10-year-old Hunter freezes during a class presentation, he has no idea the embarrassment he will feel that leads him to the most important weekend of his life. Sent to his grandparents' farm to learn where his family came from, he discovers a hidden history that reaches far beyond anything he imagined. So that sets the stage for our first book in the trilogy, Bonefairy Castle, and we're going to dig in to a little bit more. So let me go ahead, and I'd like to introduce our author, and as I do, I'll bring up his image on stage. I want to read a little bit about his very interesting bio, and then we'll bring him up to stage. So the author of this book series, the Bonefairy Trilogy, and actually as I do that, let me go ahead and let you know, for those of you that are on this, I want to go ahead and give you the website to order the book if you'd like to know what that is. Sorry, where's my tech help when I need it? Is it going? Nope, hang on. All right, so how about this? There we go. Okay, so bonefairy.com is the website, and if you go to this site here, you can order the book. But I'd like to read a little bit about our author. It's a crazy great bio, but he actually began his career working for General Motors. He was also in the U.S. Army, basic training at Fort Hood in Texas. He then, though, later on, became an entrepreneur. And so for you fellow entrepreneurs, I know that we're in a lot of networks together. He was one of them, and he had multiple successful shops and was an employer as an entrepreneur, of course. He also became part of the Teamsters. And I know I'm just doing the broad strokes, and David's probably going, man, she's going everywhere. Well, it's because he has such a big, full, very diverse background that I just want to share with you, and we'll talk a little bit more of that. But I think what is really cool about one of the backgrounds that David has is he was a singer. He was a lead singer of a local band, and he recorded 15 CDs. And many of them climbed the charts. And I've got a year about 2009, but he loves music and he also loves community. And we're going to talk about what he's doing today with his golf endeavors and many philanthropic and community events. So I'll tell you what, this is a guy with a lot of creativity, as all authors need, but even more so the fiction authors. So without further delay, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on stage and welcome our author, David Spiegel. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Happy Saturday.
Thank you. Same to you.
Well, are you almost ready for Christmas? Because it's only what, 4 days away, 5 days away, right? When did you do
That's
that?
correct. It's something that we look forward to every year. I have quite a few grandchildren, and they're always ready to see Grandpa. So
I bet they are. I bet they are. And I bet you spoil them just from what I know from you with working with you for a while. Okay. All right. So what I want to do, I'm bringing up something because I wanted to tell the statistic, and then I want to dig into the book itself. So first of all, as I said, this is happy book release day for you. This is a milestone in any book, and this is when this title that's associated in the world, Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle, becomes real. And it now will live in legacy. It lives in infamy, as they say. This is the first day that begins the journey now for all the world to be able to read the first book in the Bonefairy Trilogy. So, congratulations.
thank you. I hope everyone feels the same way that we do. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be surprised.
I'm 100% with you on that. And we're going to talk about why a little bit later. But the other thing that I like to do at every book release, and as you know, we've been publishing books now for a while, but at every book release, I like to remind people what the statistic is of people that actually accomplish what you accomplished. And that is that people that actually do publish a book. And so I was looking up again to make sure my statistics are right this morning of the statistics, and they said, okay, if you take 1,000 people, 800 of them, of the 1,000, will say they want to write a book. 800 of the 1,000 will say they want to write a book. Of those 800, only 120 actually start the book. So there's a lot of people that want to do something that never even take that first step and start. But after that 120 people that actually start the book, only 3 to 5 finish. So we're talking 1,000 people, right? 3 to 5 of them finish the book. And get this, of the 3 to 5 that finish, only one of the 1,000 actually publish the book.
Wow.
So exactly. So I again, just it's an accomplishment. It's a dream that you achieved, and I think it's so important to recognize that because it's huge. So again, congratulations to you, and that's why we're talking today about your book. And where is that? 999 people. They're probably out at the mall shopping because they're not a published author like you. Just kidding. Today. All right. So let's dig into the Bonefairy Castle. So again, this is part of a 3-book series. This is book 1 called Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle. And because I have read the book, I know the significance of scrolls. But what I wanted to start with is anytime we work with these fiction authors like you, it's just like creativity to the nth degree. It boggles my mind, honestly, when I am reading in your book, the twists and turns and how the story comes together and how something that was in chapter 14 comes together in chapter 31. How did you even come up with the Bonefairy Castle general idea? I know that's a big question, but can you share with us how you came up with that?
Well, to make it simple, I had friend of mine. Uh, I never knew what I heard the word bone fairy, and I didn't know what it was, and nobody else could answer that question either. But I had a friend of mine that said, if you ever want to do anything with that word, then what you need to do is make it a video game and have people play this game, and then they'll remember the word bone fairy. So that's what I did. I made it a video game, and it was worldwide. It's not available anymore because it was too expensive. But I did have made a video game, and to say something real fast about the video game, it was different levels of the game, and the whole object of the game was to get to a castle, and that's what the game was. You went to different levels of the game and multi levels, and the whole idea was to get to a castle. So then that's what created Bonefairy Castle. It was all make believe, still is, and so when I couldn't keep the game uh, available, then I decided to take all my notes and I started writing them all down. And the next thing I know, I'm in the middle of writing a book, and I said, "Why not write a book?" And that's what I did, and I mentioned it to a lot of people. A lot of friends of mine played the game, and a lot of people have uh, talked to me about it, and they're all excited about it very much. And that's basically how it all started.
So it's funny you said it. And when you said, and then it just became a book. And so it's so fun because we talk to authors all the time and they say, well, I had a few chapters written in a notebook and then all of a sudden it became a book. But we know, working with all our authors, what the task is. The idea comes to you, you download the content, and then you work with our editors to refine the outline and the points and the editing. Such a process. So I love, but it takes that first step, like you said.
Right.
It took that first step. So I like that. Let me so let's just kind of give the broad strokes about the book. So the book is very the word we talk about a lot in our meetings is very ancestral, right? So the ancestry, because it features young hunter and talking with his grandparents is what we start with the book one, to learn about his ancestry. And
Correct.
right, and that story of his ancestry is like crazy amazing and creative, that sets up the story. And I
Mm.
remember in parts of the first book I was reading, and he would fight a big toad. I might get this wrong. And then, I do remember the dragon part, and then there was this character and the Grim Reaper. And I remember that it was just that I was like, oh my gosh. And I would, go to the next page and okay, so he survived that. Okay, I can rest for a minute. No, not really, because then the next chapter it was some other adventure. It's so creative how you wrote this, and how his adventure that he's learning about, young hunter learning about Sir Hunter, right, his
Right.
ancestor, how engaged you keep the audience as you're turning the page. Is there any tips that you can give to someone listening to this that says, how does he do that, or how did you come up with that kind of engaging story?
Well, it going back to the game, that's how that the whole thing's the multi-level game. That's what it basically was. The book was turned into basically the same thing, where each level of the game you had to acquire something and to succeed in something, and that's what was in the book. The book, you had to take on all these different characters and succeed and try to get to the castle, and that's what this is in this first book, is getting to the castle and learning about all of his ancestors, and that's what it's basically all about. It's all kinds of different things that the young hunter, the young boy who's trying to find out about his ancestors, has to go through. And it's just every time you turn around, something pops up, and now they're, it's just an imagination. You got to let it go.
That's the best. Let it go for sure. And I will tell you, and I think we talked about this before, in our company, the majority of the books, the highest percentage were nonfiction. So we've published, quite a few fiction, but the majority nonfiction. So it's been a while since I proofed a fiction book for our clients. But I will tell you that what I love about Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle is you absolutely kept me engaged, and you kept me involved in it. So, I mean, congratulations. And in fact, I do want to talk about, if we have time, and see the time's going so fast, I want to talk about the different names of people or fairies and that, because it's very unique and I love that. But what I want to do is I want to read an excerpt that I have, just to give an idea, to the listeners of the stream of, what they're reading. So this happens to be on page 162. And it says, a couple days later, we drove to our meeting with the National Treasury Agency at their office just out of town. I drove into the parking lot and parked the car. Suddenly, a van drove up next to us and stopped. 3 men jumped out, told us to get in the van. They were huge and carried billy clubs, so we did as they said. The van drove out of the parking garage and headed out of town. What's going on? Who are you? Where are we being taken and why? I asked. One of the men turned and looked at me. We are just doing what we are told. I looked at Izzy. She looked really worried. Something was definitely not right. After about 30 minutes, the van pulled up to a house out in the country. I leaned over to talk to the man in the front. I don't understand. We have a meeting scheduled with the National Treasury Agency right now. Not anymore. Just do what you're told. Keep your mouth shut. He responded without turning around. So again, I mean, it's just excellent, excellent writing. But this is just a good example of, as you're reading the book, something comes up you completely don't expect in a very riveting way. And I know how that ended, of course, but it's just, you have that peppered throughout the story that really makes it the page turner that it is. So, and again, I'm just in awe with, how does your brain come up with that? So it's great. What would you say? I wanted to ask you another question about the book. So as we said, it's the Bonefairy Trilogy. This is book 1, Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle. We then also, I'll just show it here. We have book 2 coming up, and that is going to be released, called Awakening of Bonefairy Castle. Book 2 is due out early 2026. And we are going to have a public book launch for book 1 and 2, most likely in the retailer Barnes and Noble, but a retailer. And then we have book 3, that's called Galaxy of Bonefairy Castle. What would you say that your hopes would be for any reader that, because you in your mind, what's the ending of the trilogy. You already know the ending of Galaxy of Bonefairy Castle, book 3. What would you hope is the takeaway? The key overall takeaway for a reader that reads book 1 and book 2 and book 3? What would you hope the reader gains?
Well, I definitely want them to get all 3 books. And I've always been interested in my ancestry, and if there was any famous people, or if there was anybody that I was related to. I was always interested in that. That's just the way I was brought up, a family oriented person. And I think that people who get the first book, it'll be something that you can go through, and it'll be very entertaining, and you won't have any problem. I don't think you'll really have any problem reading this book, because I think it's just a nice story, and everybody is going to be reading this, and they're going to say, wow. It's just like you were saying earlier, that something unexpected shows up. And then when you get into the second book, it continues on, and it starts talking about the castle itself, and all the different passages and dungeons, and all the different things that are discovered. And when you get into the third book, it goes on, because this starts back in the medieval times, hundreds of years ago, and now it's going to be a whole lifetime going forward, and even beyond our lifetime. It's going to go on, where what to expect in other galaxies, so to speak.
Right. Don't give it away. Book 3 is called Galaxy, but it might not
Right.
be it might not 100% be the galaxy we think of. And in fact,
Right. Yeah,
thanks
it'll be a surprise.
it may be, well, it will be a surprise. But actually, that was the other question. I'm glad we brought up Galaxy. What I noticed about your book that I found very interesting was how you named different people. For instance, there's someone named, and I might forget exactly that's name who it is, but it's agenda. Is that a fairy or a person named agenda?
No, no, that's just a friend of Sir Hunter. Yeah,
Okay,
and
so you named him agenda.
I
Um,
did.
I love that, and you did it with, as we were talking about, Galaxy. Galaxy happens to be the name of the lead fairy.
Right.
Galaxy as a name. How did how did you become creative, or what prompted you with that kind of naming convention?
Well, my creativity in my life has always been very special to me, and it's like when I was singing and recording songs. I came up with kind of the same thing, but in regards to the guy by the name of Agenda, at that particular time, more than likely, I had something on my desk, and it was an agenda to something, and I said, "Holy smokes, I like that name, Agenda." So that's where that came from. It came from just because I happen to have an agenda that I was supposed to be doing, and I like that name. And it was just I think about things, and I mean, like everybody else, when they are thinking a lot in bed, you can't do anything. You finally got to get out of bed because it's you can't sleep, and you think of all kinds of different things, and you just make notes because you have to, otherwise you'll forget. And I keep track of all these notes and just added them to the book.
I think it's so fun, and I will tell you, for me, and I think I'm not a speed reader, but of course, because I've been a reader for years, and my profession, right, requires that I do, read kind of fast, and it would stop me, and not just the names. It would be like, hold it, did I read that right, or let me go back a
Right,
little. But also, because of the twists and turns that you put in your book, I remember I did go back, and sometimes I go back because I'm like, oh, hold it, did we explain this or that? I'm not an expert proofer, but I am a proofer in our company. And I went back on the gold. There was something about gold. Now, we're not going to give it away, but there's something about gold. And I'm like, hold it. Where did we find the gold? And I had to go back. But it's just that the book that you wrote is just so intriguing and engaging that it's exactly what you hope a book would be. I'm so proud of it that we published it with you. I'm so in awe of how you put together the story. And as we're, oh my gosh, we're almost out of time here. And as we're talking about this, I want to encourage any parents that are watching this. This book is an excellent book in the age group of middle school. It's an excellent book in the age of high school. It's an excellent book, adults. As I said, it kept me completely engaged, but it is really, I could really see that age group of that high school person, reader, keep turning the page and being challenged by the interesting tale that they're reading. So, we're almost at the end here. Is there I'm going to put the QR code on screen. Bonefairy.com is actually David's website. You can buy the book there, but he also actually produces his own wine. You'll see that. He talked a little bit about some other endeavors. He's really a fascinating person, in addition to the author of the Bonefairy Trilogy. So you can go to this website, and the book is released today. David, is there anything else that you might want to add or say to potential readers before we end?
well, the only other thing is that the book has been shown to Hollywood producers, and they have taken an interest. And I am now working with a Hollywood producer and script writer, and they are putting something together, hopefully, to make it a motion picture or a series, a television series of the three books. And that's very exciting.
I didn't know if we were going to give away that secret, but we did, and it's true. And you're actually very much in progress
Right.
on that for the series. And I'll tell you, but we're a book publisher. We want you to buy the book first. And
Right.
the book
Absolutely.
is always better than the movie.
Right. Absolutely.
But mainly, congratulations on book release day of Scrolls of Bonefairy Castle. You can pick up your book at bonefairy.com. You can buy your book at Publish with Now Publishing. And we can't wait for people to read it and give us great reviews and share it with others. But I'll tell you what, there's still time to give the Christmas gifts. We have it in Kindle.
Right.
We have it in hard copy, we have it in paperback, and the audiobook is coming very shortly. So happy book release day, and congratulations, David Spiegel. The Bonefairy Trilogy is on its way. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.